Author Donna Jodhan presents Stephan's Sandbox. He was selfish and ruthless. He took whatever he wanted and he used people to his own advantage. You either played in his sandbox or you did not. And if you refused to play, then your days were numbered. Anyone who stood up to him paid a very hefty price. That is, until someone decided to best him. Secrets, cover-ups, blackmail, and betrayal pack this drama.
Hello there, it's Detective DJ, and welcome to one of our episodes called Stephan's Sandbox. I know that by now you would have heard the description to this very exciting and traumatic drama, and I know that you just can't wait to get started. However, I just want to make sure that everyone is having a great day, and that wherever you are, your day is going well for you. I also hope that you have been having a terrific week, and I want to thank you for tuning in to listen to our show. Before starting, I'd like to reintroduce my team to you. Dr. Shay Harrington, who is our resident psychologist. Chip Sanderson, who is our investigator and my right-hand person. Dr. Ryan Martini, who is our crime scene specialist. Dr. Nicholas Gasquet, who is our resident pathologist. And Alex Kirchhoff, our resident guru and whiz kid. So without much more ado, let's dive right into this week's episode, or today's episode, called Stephan's Sandbox. It is a typical fall afternoon at the university's campus, and students are engaged in various activities around the campus. Some are on the football field, some are studying in classrooms, others are in the rooms of their dorms. So students are engaged in almost anything and everything that is typical on a very typical fall afternoon. On the football field, we see that there are some students who are getting ready for a game, but before that they are warming up and the coaches are putting them through their paces. On the athletic track, there are some other students who are jogging around and they are getting ready for their warm-ups, and the coaches are standing by to get started. In one of the classrooms, there is a professor who is busy at work, and he is giving a make-up math class to some students. This is a scene moments before a crime will take place, and moments before it is discovered that the crime has taken place. This is the scene of the crime. A young man's body lies on the floor of a rooftop garden. His eyes stare vacantly up at the fall's skies, and his thick blonde hair is matted with drying blood. He is clad in a pair of blue swimming trunks and a bright yellow polo shirt. Trunks and polo shirt are clinging to his body as they are damp, and his feet are bare. The police are there, and they're questioning a young couple, and a crowd is beginning to gather, but the police have told them to stay back. Some people are trying to get a peek at the body from their vantage point, while others are whispering in hushed tones. The young couple is extremely distraught, and the young lady is shaking uncontrollably, while the young man seems extremely animated as he gestures back and forth between the body and himself and the young lady. Soon someone shouts, "That Stephan Solaris!" Then the whispering grows louder. Shouts of joy and relief seem to be all around, and the police are being told that, quote, "Thank God he's gone. Now the questioning will begin." But no one really wants to answer questions now, choosing instead to start celebrating. Chants of quotation, "Good riddance to Stephan," fill the air. The police are taken aback. What is going on here? Stephan Solaris is dead? According to Dr. Shea Harrington, she says that the killer chose an out-of-the-way location and that this had been all planned, and that the victim's reason for having been there, all according to Dr. Shea, who loves to, hypothesize, she says that the victim could have been lured there. I wonder if this is true. But we'll go on and see what happens next. According to Chip, he says that the motives for the crime could have been any or all of the following. Someone could have killed Stephan because of either having been blackmailed or betrayed. Someone may have killed in order to stop a cover-up. Someone may have killed in order to keep a secret. But now Shea is going to try and give us a profile of the suspect. The suspect, according to Dr. Shea, was probably extremely resourceful and seemed to have laid out a well-planned killing and a trap for the victim. They had carefully planned the murder, and the intention to commit a crime was very much intended. Let's see what Chip has to say with regard to his investigation. Stephan Solaris had been a student at a very exclusive boys' college. This was called the Brent Haven Grammar School for Boys, and only the sons of very rich parents had attended this school. Facilities were exquisite, and the professors were some of the best in the country. The school had consisted of some of the best athletic facilities, as well as football fields, hockey rinks, and swimming pools. And it was located within walking distance of a private country club. I guess you're getting the scene or getting the picture right now. Very exclusive private school with very exclusive professors, facilities, and some of the best students attending the school. Stephan Solaris and his classmates were the sons of millionaires. Upon graduation, they were supposed to have graduated with some of the best business and IT degrees in the country, and only ones that money could buy. So this meant that their degrees were super duper, but only money could buy these degrees. The school had been reasonably strict about the boys being able to socialize with girls of a similar background from a nearby girls' school. But there were specific nights when they could do so. Some of the boys had been very serious about their schooling, but others were only there for either of two reasons: because they had been sent there against their will by their parents, or because they had just wanted to have a good time. Stephan Solaris was there for both reasons, and he had been determined to make the most of it and the best of things. Ironically enough, Stephan was quite smart, a computer whiz and a natural businessman. He was also a natural leader, but for the most part, he was a loner and had kept his cards close to his chest. Most people that he had first come in contact with would more often than not love him. But the saying was that this would soon change. Stephan was devious and loved to play games. He thrived on the misfortunes and downfalls of others, and he had used his talents to create havoc and destruction among his fellow students, and even among the professors and other staff members. My. Are you getting the picture now, folks? You either played in his sandbox or you did not. And if you did not, you should simply get out of the way. That's how it was with Stephan. Stephan was actually very shy with the girls, believe it or not, and had often seemed awkward around them. The school had turned a blind eye to Stephan's extracurricular activities because he had been the son of a billion-dollar business tycoon. Stephan Solaris Sr. was also a benefactor to the school, and one of the study halls had even been named after him. The plot thickens. Stephan Solaris Jr. had run gambling pools, football pools, and even dating services. He had managed to set up drug rings as well, and was himself an occasional user of amphetamines, all under the noses of the school's authorities. But they didn't do anything. They had turned a blind eye to it. Stephan had made money off of his fellow students' answers, and he had made lots of money doing this. Stephan was hated by many and loved by very few. There were several who had envied him, and there were many who had either wanted to best him or simply just get rid of him. Some of the girls had loved him for his money. Others had loved him for his power. But there were very few who had found him attractive. There was one girl who Stephan had seemed to love, and another girl who had loved him. Stephan Solaris Sr. had sent his son to Brent Haven to give him a good education. Stephan Jr. had become extremely difficult to handle in the last few years. He had become extremely rebellious. He definitely did not want to be at Brent Haven, and he had been determined to do everything to displease his father. One person had recently accused Stephan of blackmailing and betraying him. This person had confided a very deep secret to Stephan, but Stephan had used this secret to blackmail the person. This person needed to have their secret kept at all cost, because if it were ever revealed, it would practically destroy their life, and this person had been growing tired of Stephan's blackmail. Another had accused him of engaging in a cover-up. They had caught Stephan red-handed, and they were now threatening to blow the whistle big time. And if this cover-up were not to be stopped, then Stephan would be allowed to get away with a major crime, and someone's professional career would be destroyed forever. Stephen or Stephan had been heard to threaten this person as well. But in turn, the person had been heard or overheard making their own demands of Stephan. While, again, there was someone who was desperately wanting Stephen, or Stephan, I keep saying Stephen, to keep their secret. And they had tried everything to buy Stephan's silence. But Stephan had threatened to leak everything to the authorities. Stephan had been overheard arguing vehemently with this person, and they had both threatened each other. Stephan did not care. Some people had said that he may have even wanted to be caught. Others had said that Stephan had probably felt invincible, while there were some who had offered a theory that he may have become complacent and careless. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, what a mishmash of threats and blackmails between this young man and his classmates. And the plot goes on. Let's now look at the suspects as identified by our chip. There is Paolo Orsini, a fellow classmate of Stephan Solaris. Stephan Solaris Sr., Stephan's father, and Andrew Brito, a professor of Stephan Solaris. My, what is going on here? Well, according to Dr. Nick Gasquet, he's saying that the cause of death was as follows. Stephan Solaris had been drugged, as amphetamines had been found in his bloodstream. A fair amount of water had also been found in his lungs, and a very deep gash had been found on his forehead. However, cause of death had been attributed to drowning. My goodness. Well, Dr. Nick has a theory as to how it could have been done. It was possible that Stephan Solaris had been lured to the pool. When he got there, the killer was waiting. Stephan had probably ingested a healthy dose of amphetamines before coming to meet his killer, so that by the time he had arrived, he had been pretty high. The killer probably goaded Stephan into an argument and then had taken advantage of his unsteadiness to push him onto the tile floor, and when he had fallen, he had become unconscious, and then the killer had had no difficulty dragging his lifeless body into the shallow end of the pool. Then they had probably stuck his head under the water and had waited until he had stopped breathing. After this, the killer had probably had some help to take the body out of the pool area and up the stairs to the rooftop garden. And there, he and his helper had probably laid Stephan Solaris' body on the floor and had left the scene after having done this. Well, it's only a theory, but we'll see what happens. Very, intriguing theory on the part of our resident pathologist, but I don't know. Dr. Gasquet is often right He knows what he's telling you. So now let's go to a summary here. We have a crime scene of a young man's body that has been found on the floor of a rooftop garden. He's clad in blue trunks and a bright yellow polo shirt. His feet are bare. His blonde hair is matted with blood. There's a deep gash on his forehead, and he has been discovered by a young couple who have called the cops. Right? So this is the crime scene, and Dr. Nick Gasquet has said he has died of drowning, and Ryan Martini has his own theory as to how this has all happened. You know, he's told you about the crime scene, and now we have to find out, oh boy, lots and lots. And according to Dr. Shea, who gives a profile of the suspect was probably very resourceful and had seemed to lay out a very well thought out plan and a trap for the victim. Let's go to the suspects, and first we have Paolo Orsini, who was a classmate of Stephan, and there was Andrew Brito, who was a business partner of Stephan Solaris Sr. Very interesting group of suspects, don't you think? One is a classmate, one is the dad, and the other is a business partner of the dad. So what the heck is going on? What I can't figure out is Stephan Solaris Sr. being also considered as a suspect? Now, Alex has some very important questions for you to consider. According to him, we need to think of the following. Which of the suspects could have had the greatest motive? Which of the suspects could have had the most to lose if Stephan were to expose them? Which of the suspects could or would have wanted a secret kept? Which of the suspects could have wanted to stop a cover-up? Which of the suspects could have been blackmailed or betrayed? Which of the suspects could have had the most resources to carry out a planned murder? Could either of the two girls mentioned, could have they played a part in his murder? How could have amphetamines gotten into his system? Could Stephan have become careless? Could he have become complacent? Or maybe he had become or had come to feel invincible? Lots to consider, folks, but here we go. Let me just summarize once again, and I hate to be summarizing, but I think we need to keep this, in focus. Stephan was selfish and ruthless. He took whatever he wanted, and he had used people to his own advantage. You either played in Stephan's sandbox or you did not. And if you had refused to play, you had better get out of his way. Your days were numbered. Anyone who had stood up to him had paid a very hefty price until someone had decided to best him. Secrets, cover-ups, and blackmail, along with betrayal, pack this drama. You know what the crime scene is? Of his body being found on the floor of a rooftop garden, just clad in blue trunks and a bright yellow polo shirt, gash on his forehead, amphetamines found in his body, and so on, discovered by a young couple. And the suspects, Paolo Orsini, who was a fellow classmate of Stephan Solaris Jr., Stephan Solaris Sr., who was Stephan's dad, and Andrew Brito, a professor and business associate of Stephan Jr. You know the important questions? Ranging from which of the suspects could have had the greatest motive to kill Stephan? Which of the suspects would have wanted a secret kept? Which of the suspects could have wanted to stop a cover-up? Which of the suspects could have been blackmailed or betrayed? Which of the suspects could have had the most resources to carry out a planned murder? Could either of the two girls mentioned have played a part in Stephan's murder? How could amphetamines have gotten into his body or his system? Could Stephan have become careless? Could he have become complacent? Or maybe he had come to feel invincible. Ryan is going to submit a report about the gathering of further evidence. Incriminating emails and finds had been found on Stephan's hard drive, and they revealed that he had had extensive communications with all three suspects. He had been blackmailing two of the suspects, and two of the suspects had been threatening to either kill him or destroy his career. He had been sending love letters to one of the girls, while the other girl had been sending love letters to him. What a mix-up. In the case of the latter, Stephan had seemed to have been ignoring her for the most part, except for one single letter which he had written, letting her know that he did not return her feelings. In the case of the former, Stephan's letters were quite amorous and pleading, but she had not felt quite the same about him. What a mix-up love life for poor old Stephan. Stephan's letters to his female friends were actually quite polite and respectful. One of the suspects had also been supplying Stephan, occasionally with amphetamines. Stephan's cell phone was devoid of text messages, and he had seemed to have made all incriminating calls from throwaway cell phones. Remember now, he was a very smart young man. His diary had also been found and had proved to be a great source of evidence. But he had become a bit too careless about his hard drive. Drugs had been found in his room, and they were amphetamines. Stephan had received a phone call too long before his death, and a gold cross had been found close to the edge of the pool. Someone's strands of hair had been lifted from Stephen's bright yellow polo shirt, and someone else's bloody gold signet ring had been recovered close to Stephan's body. Whoa. What are we getting into here? Love triangles. Stephan loved a girl didn't love Stephan. Stephan was shy. Stephan was very polite and respectful to his, his girl associates or girlfriends, if you want to call them that. All kinds of things going on. But let's continue. All right. Let me tell you more about the suspects according to Chip. With regard to Paolo Orsini, he had been a classmate of Stephan, and one night while they had been relaxing in Stephan's room, Paolo had shared a deep secret with Stephan. Paolo had confided to Stephan that he was not the biological son of his father, and if his grandfather were to find this out, he would probably cut Paolo out of his will. The Orsini family was exceedingly wealthy and was very well known in the fashion industry. And if a scandal like this were to be exposed, it would probably ruin the family for life. Paolo was the only son of his parents, and they were the only ones who had known this about Paolo, and the secret needed to be kept quiet. But this secret had been kept quiet, until, that is, Paolo had confided in Stephan. Paolo's mum had had an affair shortly after marrying Paolo's dad, and he had found out not too long after Paolo had been born. My, very typical. Paolo's parents had come to an agreement re Paolo's paternity so that Paolo's dad could remain in his father's good graces and that Paolo would not be disowned. Stephan had been blackmailing Paolo, his silence for Paolo continuing to pay him, and Paolo had wanted to put an end to the blackmail. So, Paolo was paying Stephan to keep quiet about this secret, but now Paolo was darn tired of Stephan's demands for more and more money. Paolo had threatened to kill Stephan, and Paolo wore a gold cross. Stephan Solaris Sr.'s secret had recently been discovered by Stephan Jr. Stephan Jr. had recently discovered that his dad was involved in a software piracy scheme. And out of dislike for his dad, he had begun to blackmail him. At first, Stephan Sr. had pleaded with his son, offering him large sums of money and a prestigious position in his business. But when Stephan Jr. had refused to back down from his blackmailing, he had threatened to destroy his future career. Stephan Sr. had worn a gold signet ring. Professor Andrew Brito had recently discovered that Stephan Solaris Jr. was involved in a cover-up. Stephan had been helping a fellow faculty member of Brent Haven to cover his tracks in a wrongdoing that had involved huge misappropriations of school funds and fraud, including students' grades. Professor Andrew Brito had grown tired of Stephan's schemes and machinations and was now determined to destroy Stephan. Stephan had threatened to kill Andrew if he did not back down. Andrew also wore a gold signet ring. Ay, 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 ay. The plot thickens, folks. Through the eyes of the killer, according to Alex. He says the killer had made a careful plan. First, they would ensure that Stephan would ingest a healthy dose of amphetamines. Next, the phone call luring him to the pool. Then the stage argument. Then the push. Then the drowning. Then the dragging of the body to the rooftop garden. Time for an arrest, folks. On an early December morning, with snowflakes drifting slowly downwards and with Christmas carols permeating through the halls of the school, the cops came for the suspect on the grounds of the Brent Haven School, and the arrestee did not put up a fight. They went quietly, and the arrest was made as the arrestee was walking towards the main building of the school, and the students were strolling to their classes, some with expensive backpacks on their backs, and others with snazzy briefcases in their hands. Wow. Can you guess who was arrested? Was it Stephan Solaris Sr.? Or was it Andrew Brito? Or Paolo Orsini? Well, time to go to court, folks. Let's just see what happens next. In front of a court that was packed with college students, professors, and friends, associates of the three suspects, along with some media, the prosecution charged the following: first-degree murder, based on premeditated murder and intent. This had been a planned murder. The suspect had planted amphetamines in Stephan's room, and after he was sure that Stephan had time to ingest them, he had made a phone call to him, and when Stephan had arrived, the suspect was waiting. The two had started to argue. Then the suspect had pushed him forward. He didn't fall into the pool, but he had fallen onto the floor, the tile floor. And in the process, his gold cross had become loose, and it had fallen on the floor. The suspect probably did not notice. After drowning Stephan, he had dragged his lifeless body the very short distance up the few stairs to the rooftop garden, and he had left him there to be discovered. Traces of Stephan's blood had been found stretching from the pool and up the stairs to the rooftop garden. The suspect's bloody gold signet ring was later found near the victim's body, and the blood on the signet ring was identified as that of Stephan. The couple had later come across Stephan's body not too long after it had been put there. But the defendant had something to say and had proffered the following, and his defense was as follows. He could never have committed a crime because he had been out of town, and upon his return, on the day of the crime, he had received a call from Stephan asking him to meet him at the rooftop garden. When he had gotten there, he had found Stephan's body and had bent down to check his vitals. He had seen the deep or blood from the deep gash matting his hair, and his signet ring had probably slipped off while he was checking the blood and the gash. When he had put his hand on Stephan's bloody forehead, and in so doing, blood had gotten onto his ring, and this had caused his ring to come loose and slip off his finger. The defendant had then stated that he had rushed inside to call the police, but when he had returned, he had met the young couple there. Defendant had produced hotel receipts to prove that he had been out of town during that time. The defendant had also denied having left amphetamines in Stephan's room. However, the prosecution had contended that the defendant could have had enough time to commit the crime. Wow. Very strong prosecution case, but an equally strong defendant's case with a, plausible theory. But in the minds of the jury, was it enough to convict the suspect on the finding of a bloody signet ring? Could the defendant have had enough time to commit the crime upon his return from out of town? And what about the evidence of the amphetamines? Chip has taken us outside the court, and he has been talking to the various spectators, and he tells us that opinion seemed equally divided. There were those who felt that the defendant could have had enough time to commit the crime, but there were those who had not felt so. And the matter of the taking of the amphetamines was yet another concern in this puzzle. How had they come to be in Stephan's room, let alone in his system? Were they really a part of the killer's plan? Well, according to Chip, who ran a straw poll, there is no really clear opinion, guilty or not guilty. Too many questions were being left unanswered. Well, we're going to go to the verdict. What do you think it could be? Was the defendant found guilty or not guilty of first-degree murder? The defendant was found not guilty of first-degree murder. Insufficient evidence on the part of the prosecution. Did you guess this? Who do you think really did it? It's now time for the identification of the real killer. And I'm going to tell you. The prosecution had charged Stephan Solaris Sr. with first-degree murder. But it was Paolo Orsini, Stephan's classmate, who had committed the crime. Of the three suspects, he had the most to lose. If Stephan had exposed his secret, Andrew had nothing to lose except that he had wanted to stop Stephan. And Stephan Sr. had also had a lot to lose, but did not have enough time to have committed the crime after returning to town. Well, let's go to the wrap-up, folks, because I guess now you're itching to bring this show to an end. The police later arrested Paolo as he had confessed to his girlfriend and she had gone to the police. She was the girl who had loved Stephan and had wanted justice for him. Paolo had carefully planned the murder. He had given Stephan the amphetamines the night before, had made the call the following day asking him to come to the pool, and when Stephan had arrived, Paolo had goaded him into an argument. He had then pushed an unsteady Stephan forward, causing him to slip and fall, and Stephan's gold cross had become loose. Next, Paolo had dragged his unconscious body into the shallow part of the pool. He had then held his head under water long enough to have drowned him. And then Paolo had not had much difficulty in doing this, because he was much taller and bigger than Stephan. He was 6'6" and Stephan was 5'8". Paolo had then dragged the body a very short distance to the rooftop garden and had left it there to be discovered by Stephen's dad. That's it, folks. You know who the murderer is. The wrong person was arrested. Paolo Orsini was the murderer. And I hope that you've enjoyed this particular episode as much as I've enjoyed bringing it to you. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for listening in. And we'll see you again very soon. Take care and have a great day. Bye-bye.